camera. Oh, look at that pretty girl. Hi. How am I gonna get anyone to watch me? She's so much prettier. So despite how light out it is right now and how bright I seem to be and just how beautiful my little co-host Sabrina is, the topic of my video today is actually talking about my depression and how right now during pandemic times, I am just plain not okay.
Oh, I'm fine. It's just that life is pointless and nothing matters, and I'm always tired. Also, I can't sleep. I'm overeating. None of my old hobbies interest me.
I think talking about depression has become less stigmatized recently, but it's still kind of a sensitive topic for a lot of people, but not me. I'll talk about it all day. Like, I literally don't care. Ask me about my depression, please. I should wear a button. Like, I don't mind talking about it. It's part of who I am, and it's part of what I deal with. Why not talk about it? That's how I feel anyway. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I'm an oversharer. I've said from my first video that I really wanted this channel to be all about who I am as a person and really to share all of those different things, even though they might not be super positive all the time. I think that's really important since I work in a business that is so dependent on client relationships. It matters to me that my clients understand me and kind of what makes me tick, who I am as a person, because that builds a better relationship with those clients. And I feel like if we're coming together in a relationship from kind of even ground, it just makes a better experience for everyone overall. So yeah, your typical realtor might not really want to talk to you about the things they struggle with. I guess I'm just gonna be kind of a different type of realtor, at least today. I was diagnosed with depression when I was about 18. Even though it does affect my daily life, I largely have learned to manage it and to cope with it through a combination of therapy and medications and a couple different coping techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy that I've implemented in my life. But while my experience with depression is not exactly new to me and it's something I feel pretty comfortable dealing with on a daily basis, I do still have a lot of symptoms of it that can really impact my daily life. Day to day, things look fairly normal for me. I'm not constantly sitting under this cloud of depression, but it definitely does creep its way in, usually at kind of random times. So I will be just enjoying a day at home. Things are going well. Maybe I'm working. And then I just kind of start to feel this weight on top of me, this cloud of confusion and extra criticism of myself that doesn't seem to really have any source, but it really does kind of pull me down and makes a lot of normal everyday activities so much harder than they need to be. Typically, these little episodes crop up, and for me, they last usually a couple of hours. And I do have ways to kind of deal with those times when they come up, but for the most part, I usually just have to kind of write it out. And what that ends up looking like is either taking a nice long nap, because sometimes I just like to sleep through it and not deal with it, or sometimes I end up crying and just spilling out words as much as I can, either on text to friends or talking with my husband. But either way, whether I'm talking it out or just kind of sleeping through it, these periods of time really take me out of the world, if that makes sense. I do also want to point out here that depression and depressive episodes look really, really different for a lot of people. This is specifically my experience. I wanted to share this example because I think it's important to understand what a depressive episode really looks like and what form depressive symptoms can kind of take. A lot of the time, I'm still able to do things like smile and laugh at funny jokes and watch TV, but it is all kind of underneath that depression cloud for me. I just think it's kind of a common misconception that someone who's suffering from depression or someone who's going through a depressive episode is going to appear sad. And that's not always the case, at least for me. It's very clear to everyone that 2020 was a very different year. This pandemic has touched the lives of, I might be exaggerating, but I don't care. This is my YouTube channel. It's affected everybody, at least in some regard. Everyone is feeling the impact of a global pandemic. That's not exactly a secret. It's not news, but as prevalent as it is, I even feel like I forget sometimes, which is very, very silly to forget that we're in the middle of this. But sometimes when I've been sitting in my house for 3 days and haven't seen anybody other than my husband and these sweet cats behind me, I almost forget that life right now isn't the same as it was in 2019. Every activity that I do throughout the day kind of has a little COVID asterisk on it. Like, I went to Starbucks this morning, and by went to Starbucks this morning, I mean I ordered ahead, waited behind some plexiglass for my order, and was in and out in 2 seconds. I didn't get to stop and talk to people. I was wearing a mask the whole time. The seating area looks completely different. And the Starbucks example isn't necessarily a particularly meaningful one, but I think it's indicative of my general point, which is that everything right now just plain looks different. I understand that I am coming at this from a place of privilege. I haven't gotten sick. Nobody close to me has gotten seriously sick. I still have a roof over my head. But I do want to acknowledge that I'm coming at this from a much different place than a lot of other people. And the things that those people are going through, I can't even imagine. And I don't want to try to speak for anybody who's struggling with things on such a catastrophic level. Sometimes I hear things like from coworkers and I'll start to judge myself based on what those other people are doing. Like, I'll have a coworker who had 12 showings this weekend and put in an offer, or I'm watching a TV show continue to be produced during the pandemic and I'll think to myself, wait a minute, how are these people still going about their lives as if things weren't different? And maybe for some of those people, it doesn't feel different. But for me, the differentness of it all impacts me so much that I need to be reminded that that's not necessarily the case for everyone. And not even just comparing myself to coworkers, but comparing myself to me in 2019. But it's not 2019 right now. There are so many things that I still can't do, like go on vacation or see my parents or meet up with a friend spontaneously for a drink after work. Those little things that I'm so used to being able to just kind of do are just gone right now. Just the fact that I can't get out and do things the way that I normally did them. I've obviously adapted to it. It's been almost a year, but I'm still weighed down by it. So this is a checkpoint. To anyone who feels like they're not doing things enough or they're not doing things correctly, things are not normal. I'm not okay. Maybe this is just a checkpoint for me, for future me. Just wanted to remind you the reason you're not okay is largely because global pandemic. I hate almost to apply that as like an explanation for everything that's going wrong in my life right now or everything that's going on in the world. But it's important to remember that the reason things are different right now is in part because of this thing that's affecting everybody. This is not just some stupid little failing that I'm having. This is something that's happening on a global scale and it's affecting my day-to-day life every single day. I still wonder to myself, is it okay to not be okay right now, I want to say that it is, because so many people are going through this same thing, and it's important to have compassion for that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a therapist. Not everybody is going through the same thing all the time, but right now, everybody is at least aware of the pandemic and how it's changed things. So in that sense, we all really do kind of have a common ground. And if that common ground is causing more people than normal to have to say to themselves, I'm not okay, maybe we should just acknowledge that. Now, right now, it's February 14th, it's Valentine's Day, 2021, and we're getting vaccines out. My parents have already gotten their first dose of the vaccine. I still have a wedding that I'm planning in September that I'm hoping everybody can come to. So I do feel optimistic. The COVID asterisk on everything is going to at least start to dissipate, and maybe it'll even be gone for the most part by the fall. I know I said kind of the same thing to myself last year, but it does feel a little different right now, largely because of the vaccines. Having that optimism is one of the things that I kind of turn to when I'm having those depressive episodes. I know in my head that I'm not always going to feel as terrible as I do in the middle of a depressive episode. And I know that the world isn't always going to look exactly the way it does right now. So I can use that optimism to kind of lift me out of these periods, or at the very least, give me something to look forward to. Thank you so much for watching this video, even if it was just because you wanted to see the adorable cat over my shoulder for 10 minutes. I don't blame you, she's gorgeous. I swear not every one of my videos is like a therapy session. I actually have a lot of really useful information on real estate. So if you're interested in seeing more of that kind of thing, or you just want to be friends, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button for a little bit more content. Also, it's always helpful and validating if you just give this video a good old like. It's the little thumbs up button right down there, and it's so easy to click. I just had a Zoom therapy appointment the other day, and this largely felt similar. So even though I'm kind of talking to myself a bit, I hope that my story and kind of where I'm at resonates with other people. And even if I don't necessarily have specific advice, I hope that this video can at least serve as a reminder that if you are struggling right now, there are other people who are going through something very similar, and you're not completely alone in this. So from me and Sabrina and Ezio and the whole gang, thanks for watching. Bye! I legitimately cannot believe these cats slept through pretty much this whole video. Just chilling. Sweet angels. They're not always angels, I promise. They're trouble.